Hey everybody, Antoni here, and before I start this review of Mozart's Cosi fan tutte, which was shown at the La Scala Milan, let me get a few things out of the way first. So, as you know, this is my last review here in Milan, so that's number one. Number two is the triumph of the German soccer team in the World Championship, in the World Cup Championship, and they came out victorious against Argentina. So a huge congratulations to all of the very fine players of the German soccer team. They have worked very hard, and especially in beating the team players of my home country, the USA. So they really deserved all of the glory and the praise that they get from the fans, because I felt like they've worked very hard, even though I myself am not really a huge soccer fan. And, well, thirdly, which is on a more somber note, is, well, French conductor Lorin Maazel passed away yesterday. It's a very sad moment in the world of music, especially considering that's a field that I am very interested in, and to see that there was one great conductor who passed away was absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, first we have Claudio Abbado, who passed away roughly 3 to 4 months ago, and now we have Maazel. So it's very heartbreaking to lose yet another illustrious conductor who has basically inspired a lot of fantastic singers to improve their craft, and has brought together a lot of different orchestras from around the world, mostly around Europe and America and some parts of Asia. So I myself felt a huge amount of loss for someone as great as Maestro Maazel. And even before this opera began, the conductor, who was Karl-Heinz, I don't know if it was really him, but there was a gentleman who appeared on stage and, well, basically said his condolences about Lorin Maazel, and especially to his family. And he, well, basically asked for a moment of silence from us, the audience. Well, if you could excuse the noise outside, there's street cleaning going on. So, yeah, basically, we all stood up and we basically had a moment of silence for Maestro Maazel. And, well, that's pretty much it. So, there were basically happy moments with the German soccer team winning, as you've seen on my Facebook post. Yet, there was a huge loss to a very great musician. So, this review is dedicated to both in memory of Maestro Maazel and to the triumph of the German soccer team. So, with that out of the way, let's get this started. So, the conductor, as I said, was Karl-Heinz. The production of this opera was done by Klaus Gut. The chorus master was Bruno Cassoni. The scenography was done by Christian Schmidt. The costumes were by Anna-Sophie Thuma, and the lights were handled by Marco Filibek. Now, aside from me gushing of the Mozart operas of Magic Flute and Don Giovanni, Cosi fan tutte, and also Marriage of Figaro. Now, these were the three operas that I really, really enjoy and totally gush about. Now, Cosi fan tutte definitely has also a special place in my heart, because, well, what more can you expect from any opera from the great Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart? It has great music and a very great story and equally great writing. What's also very interesting about Cosi fan tutte is that this is the last Italian opera that he collaborated with Lorenzo da Ponte as his librettist. The others with da Ponte as his librettist were Marriage of Figaro and Don Giovanni. Both of them, like I said, are my all-time favorite Mozart operas. But with Cosi fan tutte, this definitely has a special place in my heart because, well, like I said, it's very well written. The comedy is sharp and very witty, depending on the production and depending on the singers. I mean, if you have a great bunch of actors who can sing, to play these roles very well and to really look at the text and let the text breathe through them very effectively and full of energy and life, then this performance of Cosi fan tutte can be a total success. I mean, this opera has been performed many times throughout the world and has attracted a lot of great singers, mostly Elizabeth Schwarzkopf, Christa Ludwig, Cecilia Bartoli, many singers who specialize in the six main characters. So this opera is definitely a delight to see and to hear, and just to see all of the antics happening between the two sisters, Fiordaligi and Dorabella, their lovers, Guglielmo and Ferrando respectively, and especially their maid Despina and the old bachelor Don Alfonso. So it's very interesting, given the right singers, to see the action happening to such fruition. Now, going into the production of this opera, it's a very modern production. I mean, what more can you expect from someone like Klaus Guth? He is one of those regie directors who specializes in very modern productions of certain operas. And with this production of Cosi fan tutte, I have to say, this is pretty much one of the best modern productions I've ever seen so far. Aside from the few others that I've watched, like Mascagni's Cavalleria Rusticana and I Pagliacci, which were shown at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. This one definitely has that spirit that the libretto has, and even though it's like set in the 21st century, I mean, with the plot being set in some type of very fancy looking mansion, and the exterior being a forest, finally we get to see more scenery, which I definitely like in an opera. Because for me, without great scenery, without, well, captivating scenery, how can an opera work for me? And the scenery for this opera definitely was just superb. I mean, the trees, my God, they were absolutely lifelike, especially in the second act scene with Don Alfonso when he starts snapping his fingers and leaves come down and Fiordaligi and Dorabella are like spinning around and watching the leaves fall. I thought it was just very, very beautiful. It was just really gorgeous. And there are definitely some things about the production that were also quite interesting. I don't know if the choreographer was the one who directed this, but I actually kind of find the choreography of this opera quite interesting. I mean, when Don Alfonso snaps his fingers, the other characters, basically go into some sort of trance, or they kind of act like marionettes, as if though that Don Alfonso is, well, he's the puppet master of this entire opera. There's no denying that. He pretty much starts the bet between the two men and the two ladies, especially finding himself in cahoots with Despina, and I thought this was done pretty well. And sure, there are times that the choreography is a little bit questionable, but that's just my taste. So, with my taste aside, I thought that this production, though it's modern, was actually pretty good. But the singing really sold it for me. I mean, how can you have an opera without great singing? Well, and this production promised a lot of great singing. So, without further ado, let's start out with the two sisters sung by two Swedish singers, soprano Maria Bengtsson and mezzo Katia Dragojevic. Now, Maria Bengtsson, who sang Fiordaligi, is a soprano who is very well known for her interpretations of the coloratura roles of Constanze, Donna Anna, and her light lyric roles of Pamina, Lisa from La Sonambula, and has recently ventured into the more full lyric soprano repertoire, like the Countess Almaviva, Donna Elvira, and the Marschallin of Rosenkavalier, which I kind of found astonishing. And she's also going to be singing Agatha and Alice Ford from Falstaff, so she definitely has a very versatile repertoire. So with her as Fiordiligi, well, she's a very fine musician all throughout. I especially love the timbre of her voice. It is a very lovely sounding, silvery, very well tuned, and just very graceful and agile instrument. However, there is a little bit of a setback for me and my side. I found her Fiordiligi a little bit small voiced. Now, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just a little bit of a setback for me because whenever I think of any soprano who sings Fiordiligi, I think Fiordiligi needs to have a full voice, a voice that sounds very mature, very well, mature basically, full, and just round. She basically has to have a round sounding voice because, well, she's the older sister, whereas with Dorabella, she can either be sung by a coloratura mezzo or a high lyric mezzo, or at times a full lyric soprano. And the thing about Fiordiligi is that she needs a lot of very solid sounding low notes. However, with Bengtsson in the role of Fiordiligi, I kind of found her low notes a little bit grainy. But that's not to say that she didn't do well. She did absolutely phenomenal in terms of her musicality. It's just that some of her notes just did not sound, well, her low notes did not sound that full or rich. They sound a little bit grainy, but that's just a small issue because she was able to use her musicality very well, and she was able to give such a very sweet and quite vulnerable portrayal of Fiordiligi. I mean, when we think Fiordiligi, we think someone who's strong, who's constant, who may have her doubts, but she's still a fighter. Here, she basically shows Fiordiligi's more vulnerable side. Like, she's torn between her fidelity, her duty as a wife, as a lover, and her feelings inside. So she basically plays Fiordiligi's conflicting feelings very, very well. And Katia Dragojevic, who sang Dorabella, I thought she was just fantastic. She has a very well-controlled lyric mezzo voice that's smoldering and very dulcet timbre that really suits any Dorabella. Her high notes were extremely well sung. Her low notes were absolutely sweet sounding and very gorgeous, and her stage presence as Dorabella was just absolutely exciting. She was able to play Dorabella's kinky and very fun-loving, feisty, and somewhat cheeky nature, and it really helped that she sang very, very well. And her chemistry with Bengtsson, absolutely fantastic. Both of them sang very well, with Bengtsson's lyrical soprano voice being such a huge compliment to that of Dragojevic's more lyric mezzo voice with a little bit more body to it. So they sang together very well. The Despina was sung by Italian mezzo Serena Malfi, who I saw back in Berlin as Rosina from Il Barbiere di Siviglia. I thought she was able to give Despina a very, very fun-loving persona. Not typically the Genki girl persona, but someone who is like the deadpan snarker. The type of person who kind of makes a lot of snide comments when it comes to, oh my goodness, these two again, acting like a couple of drama queens. She pretty much plays Despina as a deadpan snarker, someone who is very intelligent for her age, someone who is very level-headed. So yeah, she basically does a very great job with playing Despina's deadpan snarker side, and her voice, wow, still in fine shape and tune. She has a very fine instrument, and she definitely sang the role very well. Her acting was definitely, like I said, superb. And then we go to the men. In the role of Guglielmo, Teodorigi's lover, we have Adam Plechetka, who I also saw as Don Giovanni back in Berlin. And the thing about Guglielmo is that he's the type of role that's been sung by both bassos, bass baritones, and baritones alike, though I personally prefer a bass baritone or a baritone singing him. And I definitely have to say that Adam Plechetka was just absolutely fantastic as Guglielmo. He basically plays Guglielmo's rugged nature very well, and he's able to play his manly, masculine, very virile, and quite macho nature pretty well. Yet at times he can be such a teddy bear, especially with his moments with Dorabella. And he was able to play that passionate side. He was all fire and passion as Guglielmo. The same thing I can say about his voice. It has such a fire and has such virility, such a dark-hued timbre that I absolutely admired in Mr. Plechetka. I could definitely see a bright future for him in the more heavier baritone roles, but as of now, he's still quite young. It takes a lot more time, and, well, it's never too early, never too late, because, well, he gave a very fine portrayal of Guglielmo, and he did it very well. He sang and acted very, very well. And the role of Ferrando is a tenor I didn't really know about until now, and that is Austrian tenor Peter Sohn. Now, Peter Sohn, as I've done my research, has done a lot of light lyric tenor roles. He's sung the roles of Tamino, Don Ottavio, Belmonte, Lorenzo from Fra Diavolo, Froh from Das Rheingold, Alfredo from La Traviata, and many other light lyric tenor roles. I mean, he's going to sing a few more full lyric tenor roles in the near future. I'm not so sure what he's singing. I basically went through it in passing, but I think he's going to sing Rodolfo in 2017. I'm not so sure. I mean, I've looked through his website, and I found that there were some things that he was going to be singing in the near future, like 2 to 3 years from now, and it's implied to be like a more full lyric tenor role. He will be singing like a role from Hans Heiling in the near future. But going into his performance as Ferrando, his voice reminded me of Fritz Wunderlich. I definitely felt Wunderlich's timbre through Peter Sohn because, wow, he has a very well-focused and very clarion instrument that he used very well. His high lyric tenor voice was just so breathtaking, and his musicality absolutely flawless. This is a tenor that I can definitely see has a very bright future ahead of him, especially with roles like this, Tamino, and many others. He has a very great instrument, and in terms of his chemistry with Plechetka, he was able to play Ferrando's very romantic, everyday nice guy nature very well, in such a stark contrast to that of Guglielmo's impulsive, very macho, and, well, bravado, so to say. He was able to make Ferrando the romantic type, whereas with Guglielmo, he's basically portrayed as the guy who can really put his head on in battle right away, who can easily kick your ass if someone is very unfaithful. So, yeah, the chemistry that both Zon and Pleshetka have together was just absolutely fantastic. And then in the role of Don Alfonso is veteran bass baritone Michele Pertusi, who is very well known in the bel canto repertoire and has forayed a few roles from the Verdi repertoire, like Attila and Sparafucile from Rigoletto. And he even sang Conte Radolfo from Bellini's La Sonnambula, which I have on DVD, though it's back home in Cebu, Philippines. So, his performance as Don Alfonso, well, wow. He definitely had a lot of experience in this role, and it's really, really clear to see that, like I said, he definitely had so much experience in this role that he was able to find more nuances to this character, especially his deadpan snarker nature, his somewhat manipulative nature, and his kind of smug nature, if you ask me. He was able to portray Don Alfonso's smugness pretty damn well, and his voice absolutely round, rich, and just so virile and so well tuned. So all six singers did phenomenally. There may have been a little bit of a setback with some, but all throughout, they were all great. They were all very, very great in their musicality, and their acting, well, it was just absolutely fantastic seeing all six singers really work on each other very, very effectively. And the conducting done by Maestro Steffens was just absolutely brilliant. There were some passages that ended up being a little bit too fast, like Donne mie le fatte tanti. I expected it to be a little bit slower, but other than that, he was able to give a lot of energy and just he was able to help the singers very well with their performances. So overall, this is definitely a way to cap off my reviews of the operas that I've seen here in Milan. I'll definitely really miss this great city because it has a lot to offer when it comes to music. But don't worry, tomorrow I'll be in Verona and it's going to be a grander time there because there are operas that I'm going to be seeing at the Arena di Verona. So I am totally excited for that. So overall, like I said, this was definitely a great way to cap off my reviews here in Milan. With such great singing, a very interesting production that managed to grab my attention, and very great conducting. This was definitely a great evening for me, and it was certainly a way to cap off my time here in Milan. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow where I'll be in Milan, and as always, I'll be giving some updates on what's going to happen within the next few days that I'm going to be there, especially regarding the operas that I'm going to be seeing at the Arena di Verona. And as for Maestro Lorin Maazel, if he's watching this, I would love to thank you for all of the memories. And even though I've never really seen you live on stage, I've seen you through YouTube. I've heard you through your recordings. I've heard you through, well, not just YouTube, but also in Spotify. You have a lot of musicality. You helped every singer very well. You've inspired a lot of great singers. And you've inspired so many great musicians to really pursue their dreams and really, well, be who they are. And you can really see the light and beauty through them. I feel that if I would have met you, it would have been such a privilege to get to know you better and to know that, well, you'd be a great role model in my life because, well, music is something that I not just love as a pastime, but something that I've been growing with, especially as a child. And it's still something that I'm learning to this very day. So may you rest in peace. And, well, I hope that you enjoyed this review. And to all the German soccer players who I'm sure some of you might be watching this, or maybe not, I'd like to congratulate all of you. I can't really shake all of your hands, but I would really love to congratulate all of you. Ich wünsche euch die Beste in eurer Karriere als Sportler und viel Glück. And to my international audience, that means I wish you all the best in your careers and good luck. So, yeah. Until then, this is Antoni signing off and wishing you all a good night, and I'll see you in Verona.